Okay, Jeff, we're now on Principle 2, Limbic Brains Harmonize, Video 4. And these are still the positive examples of how it works.
When we walk into a family, the things that we look for to see if they're utilizing this principle in a positive way. This is the last two items on the list for this.
Okay.
And of course, when we walk into a family and they're in a negative way, we want, when we leave the family system working with it, our goal is that they have these principles and are utilizing them in a positive way. So this is what we're looking for when we close, if not when we come in.
Yeah. So, I mean, simply, these can be treatment goals for professionals that are working with the families. And, for the very first one, our families really struggled, and parents not being afraid of other people's emotions, that without being overwhelmed, so that they could manage other people having emotions and not be overwhelmed by that. And we have to keep in mind that the principle is limbic brains will harmonize. We will synchronize with others' emotions. Mm-hmm. And that's why it is so hard for our families.
Well, in our previous video, we talked about making sure you have the skills to shift, to move yourself out of different emotional states. And that's very important because, like you said, when we're going to share.
Yes. We're
going to share an emotional experience with people every time we meet somebody. Mm-hmm. The question is, do we do it in an aware fashion, or do we do it limbically without any control at all?
Yes.
So one of the things we look for is we look for parents who can sit with their children's emotions of scared and sad without immediately having to go to fix or remove triggers.
I know we have taught this so many times to families and repeat it and repeat it and repeat it because it's a hard one.
Our element number 4, part of that element number 4 is to be able to intentionally match the affect of your child. That means making yourself feel what they feel for about 40 seconds. 40 seconds, that's what we ask. And what we found over the years, this is very hard.
Right.
This is very hard.
Let's kind of describe a setting for that so people will understand. Let's say your child just failed their math course. And for the parent to go sit with the child who was so sad and scared about what the future is going to look like, that they failed a math course, and that parent, for them to sit in the emotion with the child, as in the parent feeling that sad and scared for 40 seconds before they do anything else. So that
let's give them a little demonstration.
All right.
Do you want to be the child coming home from school?
I'm better at that one.
Okay.
You won't believe it. I failed Algebra 2. I worked so hard and I still failed. I don't know what I'm going to do.
Now at this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw on my own experience and I'm going to make myself feel what she's feeling. Oh, honey, that is an awful feeling when you don't know what you did and you still failed. And you actually sound like you tried to get it. And then, you put all that work into it and you think you got it. And there's the experience we want. Did you see how her head started to go up and down? That tells you that she is feeling like I'm feeling exactly what she's feeling right now.
I did. And I didn't want to defend myself or anything. It was just like, Algebra 2 was not easy. I really struggled. I worked hard, but you're right. I just wasn't getting it. And it's hard.
Now, in order to do that, and I didn't do it for 40 seconds. I only did it for probably 8 maybe. But in order to do that, you have to be able to stay in that sad, scared emotion without moving out of it or trying to fix it. You just have to be there with them. And the reason this is so important is because that experience, when a child brings those emotions to you and you can make yourself feel them with the child, what that does is that cues their brain that they're safe now to talk about that feeling. And as we mentioned in previous videos, the number one skill that humans have for getting in control or regulating their emotions is to be able to slow it down, put it into words. Use your frontal cortex to put it into words so that you can think about it in a clear and precise way.
And so when you went into that little role play, you were very intentional about the way you did it, with a plan on getting out of it, that brain flexibility. You knew that, you internally knew you had a means to get out.
So we look for parents who, when a child in a rudimentary or small way, or sometimes in a large and explosive way with traumatized kids, when they share these really strong emotions of sad and scared and anger, can you be there with that child? Can you co-experience that with them? Okay, long enough for their brain to go, they feel what I feel.
Yeah, and at that point, then I always think of our brains are now synchronized, and I can shift my emotions and help my child shift the emotions.
That's element number 4, the intentional affect matching.
Yeah, so
As you then, once you have that click, once you change your emotions, you can drag the child right with you.
and it's extremely hard for some of our families to get out of the emotion. You know, I think of some of the kids talk about their traumas, the ways that they've been hurt. And parents can just sink down and stay in that sadness for such a long, days and longer.
Well, the other side of the coin is a lot of parents, when they're not aware of this principle, they'll be able to match the child's emotion, but they don't do it in a controlled way.
That's what I'm thinking of.
One of the examples we use for that is the child that comes home and says, another kid in schools, let's say Jimmy hurt me today. He pushed me down on the playground, and look, I have a skinned knee, and I don't want to go outside on recess anymore. And when we connect overly too much to that child's emotion, and we're not in control of ourselves, then we can get angry.
Yes.
Would you like to do a role play on that one?
I'm happy to.
Okay.
Because I used to fall down on the playground, and I know what that feels like, and can only imagine how upset I would be if somebody pushed me and I fell down.
Well, which role do you want to play?
I'll be the kid.
Okay.
Dad, Jimmy pushed me on the playground today, and I have gravel on my knees, and it just hurts.
I am sick of that, Jimmy. This is the third time this week you've talked to me about him.
You know what? Go beat him up. You're going to go beat him up.
I'm going to go call his mom. That's what
okay,
I'm
you
gonna
go. Good.
I'll see that he doesn't bother you again on the playground.
Right. That's right.
And of course, I'm connected to her emotion. She's
Yeah.
nodding her head. She feels felt, but I'm not doing it in a controlled way. And the message that I'm sending to the child is, your scared is so big that I need to dysregulate over it. And if I, as an adult, need to dysregulate, then she's going to feel like she needs to do the same thing.
So in my head, I was actually thinking, man, I could get Jimmy in lots of trouble here. So I'm giving my dad, cause Jimmy a lot of pain.
Now, the kind of the flip side of the same coin, what we are looking for in families is we're looking for that ability, like we said earlier, not to connect but not flip out. But we're also looking for the quality in a family that allows the child to do things that the parent knows are going to be sad and are going to produce sad and scary results, but you allow them to experience it anyway because you know that their experience of it is not going to be overwhelming. You, as a family system, can connect to that child and help them handle whatever scares or sads come from it.
So you're basically saying that I have to, or we as parents, need to be able to allow our kids to fail. To
Exactly.
go out there, take on challenges that we know is going to stink. It's just going to be nasty.
Your preteen girl comes in and says, I want to go out for the senior high football team. Do you shut that down right away? Or are you able to say, well, I think you might change your mind at some point, if you want to give it a try, I'll support you.
Yeah.
Knowing that she's going to get bruised,
Uh-huh.
that she's going to get made fun of, but also knowing that your family can help her with those feelings and she'll learn through the experience.
I remember when our one daughter said to her grandfather, I think I'll be a cheerleader when I grow up. And he says, you think there's much money in that? It's just like, he didn't shoot it down. He just...
Just kind of slightly dissuaded.
Yeah. So when we're allowing our kids to fail, it could be in relationships, academics, sports, music. The kid decides to take up the guitar but likes long fingernails. There's going to be so many challenges, and our logical reasoning brain says, lecture. Tell the child they can't do that.
Or run ahead and just don't allow that experience to happen.
That's right.
Explain to them that it won't.
Mm-hmm.
It takes a lot to know this principle is at work, and my child is going to experience pain, and because this principle we harmonize
Right.
is present, I'm going to hurt with them.
Yeah, and that's why some parents will shut it down because they don't want to go down that road with their child.
But to be able to say, I'm not going to shut this down. I can experience this with my child so that they're not alone in it, and I can use my experience to help them learn from this experience. And in the end, our family's not going to be overwhelmed by it.
I think it's so important for kids to be able to learn what failure feels like so they can work to avoid it or take new skills.
Failure has a lot of things to teach. It could very well be argued that the best things in life are only learned through failing until we get it right.
Right. I think of that one story that you tell a lot about. Some families just talk about their failures for the day, the times that they've had problems, so that it normalizes it for everybody. And it's like taking risks is not that big of a deal. I can go out and do it. Of course, we're talking healthy risks, but
Well, these are usually family systems that are able to recognize we're going to share this feeling and we're going to handle it as a family.
Yeah.
And we don't have to run from these experiences or condemn each other over them or, avoid them altogether.
I think it's really important for our families, the parents, to recognize they need to have these emotional regulation skills so that they can give them to their kids, which is
Absolutely.
nice about the next principle. Teaching parents have to manage their affect.
Oh.
That's a really big one,
A lot of arguments over the next one.
Yes. All right. Thank
Look
you.
forward to it.
Thank you very much. This was Principle 2, Video 4. Thank you.